Okay, so I'm not just a homeless man. I'm not just a homeless man. You gotta understand, I don't do weird drugs or I'm not running from the police, which some people call the man, which kind of makes no sense anymore because there's lots of women who are police officers. And honestly, there's only a few bad apples amongst them police. Most of them are good people, good intentions, and that's fact and true. Now, as far as when you get into prison guards and such like that, and jail guards, I'm not sure if you could say the same thing because that's a closed environment, but police out in the public are generally good people. Now, you get behind them closed doors, them jails, and them prisons, you're fucked. You know what I mean? And that's how it is. So, keep your asses free if you can, because you don't want to be in them fucking rooms. You don't want to get locked alone. You don't want to think you're going to fucking die. And then sometimes they do it to you multiple times, and they fucking drug you. And the medical staff and the trustees and other inmates will drug you too. They'll trade cookies for sandwiches and fuck you up. The medical staff will drug you with injections and pills and Gatorade drinks and shit like that till you figure out what to drink and not to eat and who not to trade shit with. You're all right. Except for you got to realize some folks, they go to prison and jails for about 20 years all the time. They think it's funny as fuck. Sometimes 30 years. So, hey, sometimes they call that shit family. They're fucking retarded. Family's a mama and a papa and babies and kids. And grandparents and shit. That's what family is. Now let me get that shit straight right there. Shit, I lost the point of my situation. Oh, here's the situation. I grew up in Reston, Virginia. First planned community in the world. So-called founded by Robert E. Simon. Just like Christopher Columbus founded these United States. Hee-haw, hee-haw. Now I know what y'all are thinking. He crazy. And you're fucking right. You can ask the United States government. You can ask the Commonwealth of Virginia, Fairfax County government, and District of Columbia governments as well. Now, fact of the matter is, everybody knows I'm crazy. That's good to know too. Ha ha ha. Well, now let's get to the point, my friends, who are of the cloth, the badge, the uniform, and the family. Let's get one point straight here. Growing up in this here planned community, all these families had to buy land in other countries and in other parts of the United States. Once they figured out the cookie cutter operations, kind of like figuring out a McDonald's franchise operation like Ray Kroc did. Then he made lots of money off of Ray Crockerage with McDonald's franchises he sold his concepts to, which included him owning the land that the owner of the store and all the products, they had to lease the land from Ray Kroc. Otherwise, they basically took care of the business themselves and used the McDonald's label and frozen McDonald's food. Now imagine you apply that to civilizations and suburbs, and Reston, Virginia was the first one. You figure out how many doctors you need, dentists, emergency rooms, at what point you need to get a hospital instead of having emergency, like satellite emergency room. Then you got to figure out what kind of restaurants you can have. You got to figure out ways to put public amenities, who's public, who's private, and guess who runs the law? The homeowners associations, the condominium associations, the community organizations. Them cops don't have to do too much. I don't know, sometimes people think it's serenity in Reston. I think it's a bunch of motherfucking families now have Restons all over the fucking country and the world. And I was one of the experimental children, they did it too. Well, ha ha ha, check this out. All them houses in Reston also were built basically with fucking dungeons. Well, not all of them. Just the mid-grade, like just above fucking Section 8 housing apartment complexes, but not quite to the 3-story townhouses with multiple balconies, multiple bathrooms, cool features, oh yeah, and sliding glass doors and windows out the basement. Now, them low-class townhouses didn't have no ways out the basement except for them storm windows. Them storm windows, if you buy a row of houses, you can fill them in, act like they never had no storm drain windows to climb out of if you're in the basement and there's an emergency. Only way out's a stairwell. There's cement walls between each basement of these townhouses. Supposedly soundproof, but you might hear screams. Let's imagine you're a fucked up weirdo. Kind of like a human trafficker, or one of them groups of people that like to steal children, keep them up, or women, or men or boys or girls or whatever you fucking imagine evil motherfuckers do. You know, them evil types that the courts let out of prisons and jails every day in your community. Them murderers, rapists, and slavers or human traffickers, them pedophiles, them types. Well, they got money too. You know, like Epstein and shit like Club Med, which they called it before it got secretified after the 1980s. While them families in Reston used to go to Club Med, them adults, including their mama and her boyfriends and husband and them fucked up weirdos. You know, drink all you can, eat all you can, go around naked. Have these weird fucked up sex slaves on islands. Then later they hit it all out. They hit it. Well, imagine if you filled in all them communities, them little cheap ass houses that people bought up right then when all the real estate went fucked up and low. Except for by then you got all these weird fucked up communities built all over, well, the United States and, well, oh yeah, the entire planet, with these weird fucked up cheap ass townhouses with these weird dungeon basements that when you fill in the storm drain windows, you ain't gonna know. You know, probably a couple layers of plastic bags, some dirts, a couple pieces of wood, and some more plastic bags, some more dirt, and some landscaping, some bushes and some roses and some little brick walls, and you know all that special fucking fancy stuff you see in them communities. Now you got dungeons all over the world planned by these dumb motherfuckers. But you know, call me crazy. Wait till I get a chance to go walk around them stupid ass neighborhoods I used to live in Reston, where guess what? I know where them houses are that have storm drain windows with them basements with no other way out. Not them nice houses with sliding glass doors and windows out the back. And now you just solved that motherfucking riddle. Now you got to get into God gifts. And them gifts of God are kind of weird, right? You stop habba-gabba-gabba-gabba-gabba. You know, you got a lot of weird people who are here walking around preaching magic, preaching God's word, preaching the Bible, preaching the Quran, and preaching Buddhism, Eastern philosophy, and motherfucking meditation. But don't let them get your ass in a car, at a retreat, or in a fucking house, or at a small farm next to a gigantic fucking farm. And trust on that, when you walk in the room and there's fucking weirdos, you may never come out till you are trained and drugged. Now, you know, they got to figure out how to train and drug people, so there was different companies back in the day and different ones that learned how to fucking psychologically screw people over, including children. Let's say like Straight Incorporated, one of the founders was Dr. Robert DuPont, who also happened to be the drug czar for Jimmy Carter Association, better known as the Jimmy Carter administration, because he was a peanut farmer in the United States of America and became President Jimmy Carter. But he brought in Dr. Robert DuPont, who's a lizard slimy looking motherfucker. And they had Straight Incorporated out here in the area of Northern Virginia, Maryland. Did you get married or are you a virgin? Anywhere, not Maryland and Virginia, near D.C., you know, the DMV now, the District, Maryland and Virginia. Dr. Robert DuPont started a nice company called Straight Incorporated. And what they did with kids is they screamed in other kids' faces. And they had to hold down other kids to scream in their faces until the kids changed how they behaved and acted and what they said they believed in. And then they had to agree to take medication and be released into the community. Now that's a DuPont chemical family. Robert DuPont as the drug czar of the United States for Jimmy Carter. Now guess what he did behind the scenes with Ronald Reagan? The entire anti-flower power movement against, guess what? Mary Jane. Mary Jane is another name for medical cannabis. So hemp is used for lots of things, including the ropes that supposedly were in the parachute and parts of the parachute that saved President George Herbert Walker Bush's life when he had to eject during the Korean War from his jet plane. Now, back to the Ronald Reagan administration. Ah, yes. Dr. Robert DuPont decided how to chemicalize the entire planet. They had to experiment on kids. So they did places like Straight Incorporated, and movies like Clockwork Orange were made by Stanley Kubrick. Now, who gets involved with weird shit like that? I don't know. But check it out. The basements with these windows filled in lots of communities across the world, those windows were never filled in 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Even just before the coronavirus. Then they made everybody shut the fuck up and go inside, didn't they? Then they probably filled in a lot more windows. And then everybody who fucking knew how to make money made a shitload of money off the digital boom as well as the corona boom. And let's not forget, corona is a Spanish word for crown. But the only crown that was established on the United States, on the planet, using all these monies that are fucking thrown around like dillity dangity dangities and Tic Tacs and Skittles and other weird shit that they put in these things and those things, guess what? They all made billions. Now, the only real crown that was established, the only real virus that's really killing people are these people and these families that are in the background. And the greatest threat to world peace is the United States of America government, who seems to have its fingers in the wars. The corporations of the United States of America has its fingers in the wars and the pre-planning of the wars, and all that fucking death shit, and opening gates of heaven and hell. So the warriors see hell, the citizens see heaven, and the rich people get to keep collecting our tax dollars. Did you know back in the days of feudalism, or in just any kind of weird places, there was walls around everywhere. They had a circle around it. Then they built moats when they could build ditches, moats. And they had walls around everything. If you were royal, you were inside the wall and protected by the muscle. The muscle protected the royals. In the Bible, they were called the Levites, from the family of Levi, a descendant of Abraham. But these muscles, these toughs, this military, this law is the opposite of the word wall. Spell wall backward, you get law. Anyways, look at your communities. Go back to your communities. Look around. See who filled in their dirt windows. And hey, because I'm going to tag all the military and law enforcement in here that I can think of, this is from Nathaniel Shellhayes Vizdos of Vizdos TV, who is currently homeless, now over 2 years in Washington, D.C., facing my 4th winter outside here, 20 minutes from where I grew up in Reston, Virginia. Reston, Virginia! A place called Reston. Rich people, evil, Fairfax County. It was the wealthiest place in the world when I grew up. And these families experimented, and now they've got Restons everywhere. Now, again, like I said, everybody who really gives a fuck about the cloth, the badge, the uniform, and the family, please look at your communities and see when and where all those windows were filled in. And let's get to the bottom of these fucking human slavery traders, these evil fucks who all need to be put in the fucking dirt, or at the very least in cages for the rest of their life, away from all the good people. And this, my friends, is a public service announcement from me to you. Eternal blessings of health and wealth to your families forever and forever and forever. Worldwide. Worldwide. December 3rd, 2003. Thank you. Please translate into every language, O spiritual, powerful ruler of all things that I most easily call God. And now I bow down. Thank you. And by the grace of God only, by the grace of God.